All right, good evening, everybody. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather, and I want to provide an update for you on Tropical Storm Beryl, what to expect overnight tonight into tomorrow evening as this storm makes its way. Right now, behind me, you can see that things are fairly calm. Here we had some showers earlier, pretty strong storms headed from Navarro County into Ellis County earlier. You can see we still have that outflow boundary here. 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts possible with that. That's why we have that special weather statement there in blue. But for our area right now, not much happening. But this first outer band of Tropical Storm Beryl is what we were looking at earlier. I want to kind of expand our view here, and let's go to the radar mosaic and take a broader look at what's happening. Now, of course, to our north, we've been talking about the complex that was going to develop. I'm getting less and less confidence that any of this is going to move into our area. But here's Tropical Storm Beryl, and that will move into our area. That will have an impact on our weather tomorrow. You can see it churning there off the Texas coast. Some of those inner bands beginning to make their way up towards Matagorda Island there, will eventually move up towards the Houston area and on up to the northeast. But again, you can see some of these outer bands are making their way. We will see more of those overnight. The sun is going down though, so we are seeing some of that convection kind of diminish farther away from the system. When you get away from your lifting mechanism, generally you depend on heat a little more. So once you get away from the actual storm itself, then they're a little more dependent on heat to keep them going. Daytime heating is going away, so we are losing some of the oomph, if you will, for those storms. And I'll tell you, I'm going to try to take questions at the end of this thing. So make sure you're putting your questions in the chat, and I will do my best to get to those here momentarily. But you can see some severe storms from the Texas Panhandle on up through southern Oklahoma. Again, I don't have a lot of confidence that we're going to see that move in. If we do, it'll be early tomorrow morning. Now, I want to get to a couple of other things here. So let me just transfer over to the graphics. And here is the updated, what we're looking at in terms of the track here. So early tomorrow morning, probably around 2 or 3 a.m. is when we will see landfall in southern Texas, and then it will move up through the Houston area throughout the day tomorrow, and then make its way. You'll notice that this track is a little further east than what we saw earlier. Not too much, but a little bit, but that can make a difference in who gets how much rain. And so as we go tomorrow, we will be seeing quite a bit of a difference here in terms of what we'll be seeing for how much rain where. 1 to 2 inches, basically east of I-45 here. That's kind of the way that's lining up. And then, west of I-45, east of I-45, we start to get the heavier amounts. 2 to 3 inches east of Waxahachie, Corsicana, eastward, Groesbeck, eastward. And then as you get further east into the green here, 4 inches, and then you get your higher amounts here towards the center of that storm, where we will be seeing that. And that is why we have these flood watches. Now, this flood watch does not include Ellis, Johnson, or Hill counties. It does include Navarro County. So from, again, Kaufman County, Navarro County, down to Groesbeck east, that is where we are seeing this flood watch kind of take place. So I want to just briefly get back to the radar here, and I'm going to make sure I have something queued up for you. I want to make sure that we take the time to clock this out for you. So I want to make sure that we have that. Let me just make sure that's working, because I was going back and forth on using this because the models, again, with these storms can be tough to predict. But I want to get down to the satellite, just kind of give you that view. I'll have to get away from, let's see, I'm going to have to use the IR here. Okay, this is what I want to show you. I want to kind of pivot back here. So we have all of this moisture moving in. That's what brought us that band earlier tonight. So you see all of this moisture moving in. So overnight tonight, we will have more clouds. We will have more of this moving in, which is tomorrow will be part of what gives us mid-80s for highs, because we're going to have so much cloudiness, we're going to have so much moisture in the air that temperatures really can't rise very much. So tomorrow will be relatively cool. It'll be very humid as well, but the other nice part is we will actually have a north wind. We will be on the west side of this storm, so we'll have a north wind coming down. that won't hurt, but we will have plenty of rain. So just to emphasize how much moisture we have going on here, the other thing I want to show you is how much convection we have right in the center of this storm. You can see briefly there a little bit of an eye trying to develop. It's rocky, but it is intensifying, and so we should see hurricane force by the time this thing makes landfall early tomorrow morning. So now I want to go back over to our graphics here. Let's get that in. Yes, okay, so here is where we can start to kind of time out what to expect. So 3 a.m., right around 3 a.m. is when we will see landfall down in southern Texas. As we get to 6 a.m., we'll see that starting to pull north towards the kind of into the Galveston, Houston area. By 9 a.m., really the Houston area here. So you can see it starting to move just kind of almost due northward there, maybe a little bit northeast. By noon tomorrow, we will see it lifting north of the Houston area. In fact, I think, okay, yes, I was trying to make sure I had that right. Now, by 3 p.m., a couple of things I want to show you. One, we will see that start to make its way closer to our area. We will see increasing rains here for parts of our area. Again, like I said, mostly east of I-35, east of I-45 here. But you notice the outer bands, we're starting to see more convection here. 3 o'clock, we're getting that heating of the day. So we will see those outer bands light up. And while these areas west of 35 won't get flooding rains necessarily, there will be storms out there, because as that moisture and that energy makes its way, gets heated up, that increases the lift, we will see storms going forward with that. Now, 6 o'clock tomorrow, you can see that's probably right around when we'll have the heaviest rain. I think as we're sitting down to dinner tomorrow night, that's primarily when we're going to get the highest coverage of rain, but also the heaviest rain across our area. 9 o'clock, we'll still see that. It'll mostly be in our northeastern quadrant here. And then by midnight, this model has most of it moving out. Now, I will tell you, sometimes the moisture kind of takes a while to move out here, so we could still have some rain early Tuesday morning. But right around midnight Tuesday morning, it's pretty well getting out of here. Now, we will continue to see that path adjusted and updated here. So things are subject to change as always. But for the most part, I think we will pretty well be done with this after tomorrow. I don't think we see much Tuesday. If anything, we'll probably be back to a warming trend, westerly winds, and Beryl will be a memory at that point. All that will be left probably is the recovery and the cleanup down on the coast, and I'll be getting more information to you on that in the next few days. But I want to go back to the live view here and take any questions you might have. I don't think we've had any questions come up in the chat here, but just to kind of recap for you, and we'll go back to all those graphics too, but we have Tropical Storm Beryl, still a tropical storm, have not reached hurricane levels yet, but I was showing you how much convection we have developing towards the center. We've been seeing an eye trying to develop there all afternoon, and so as we get into the evening hours, we could be possibly looking at a higher escalation here, could be looking at hurricane force. Probably not very far into the hurricane force range, but it will probably be there. That will move northward through the day tomorrow. Tomorrow evening is when we will have our best chance. So somebody asking, Ryan asking, what is that tornado risk? And really not expecting much of a tornado risk for our area tomorrow. As this thing moves in, there could be a tornado risk right along the coast as that moves in, and really from about Austin southward, I would say. If you're gonna have a tornado risk, it is possible to have one. Really, I would say it's probably limited mostly along the coast. Flooding for the coast, storm surge up to 6 feet, and then for the rest of the state, flooding is going to be the primary risk. So I'm not really worried about tornadoes tomorrow, mostly going to be gusty winds and flooding rains. And Chase Grubb, strong wind this afternoon in Midlothian, but no rain. What's up with that? So that was an outflow boundary. There was some rain in the Midlothian area. You must be in the part of Midlothian didn't get any. But that outflow boundary, which again is why you're seeing this special weather statement here, there's no rain out there, but there are 40 to 50 mile per hour winds associated with the outflow boundary that came from those storms. So that is why you got some wind with no rain. And then Ryan, you're asking how fast, or Ron rather, asking how fast will wind gusts be. We could see wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour with these storms tomorrow. And Robert, you're asking how bad is it going to be down in Anahuac? I will tell you that from about let's see, what was it? From about Padre Island to Treasure Island here, that's where we're going to see the highest risk. That's where we have the hurricane warnings. That's where we're looking at 6 foot up to 6 foot storm surge possible, and then 3 to 6. I would say up to 3 feet, probably 3-4 feet on the fringes there. So that's kind of what we're expecting down on the coast there. And then inland, we will see tropical storm strength by the time it gets north of Houston there. So that's a little bit of kind of that general range. You're asking if is it supposed to rain tonight? We could see more rain tonight. It looks like most of that is subsiding, but I think most of the rain will start tomorrow morning as that storm gets closer. Penny, you're asking, will the front from Oklahoma make it to us? I'm unsure about that. I'm unsure how the hurricane might affect that front in Oklahoma. Either way, the front isn't going to do a whole lot for us either way. It's a fairly weak front, but the storms definitely, I'm not very confident in making it to us. Jeffrey, originally was asking if originally it was thought a front would bring us some rain. Is that still expected? I'm not thinking that rain is going to make it to us, those storms over in Oklahoma. Another question, as this passes our area, will it open the door for the old front to drop back down behind it? I'm not too sure. And again, we're not going to get much help. We're not going to get much cool air from the front or rain, really. So once this thing moves out, I don't know if the front is actually going to be able to make it into our area if this is resisting it. If anything, it probably stall out and move out. But I really haven't looked into the front much because I'm not expecting rain to really get here. So I'm not expecting, if the front does get through us, we won't notice it because we're not really going to see much in terms of temperatures. Our cooler temperatures tomorrow will be strictly due to the increased rain and a cloud cover from Tropical Storm Beryl. John, we will recap the timing of that. See any bad weather on Waxahachie? We got a few people that have just joined in. We'll do a recap here in just a moment and go back through all of the graphics there. What does it look like for South Padre? We're supposed to be there Tuesday. So South Padre Island, probably going to be on the edge of the heavier stuff here, but could be up to 6 foot storm surge in that area. Probably closer looking to 3 or 4, maybe 5, but could still be a fair amount of damage there from that, or at least flooding. So I would call ahead before you head that way on Tuesday to make sure that nothing has changed in terms of those travel plans or what you're able to do. Jane, you're asking how much rain for Richland Chambers? Probably about somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 4 inches of rain. It kind of depends on where the storm actually ends up going tomorrow, so that could change, but I would say roughly 2 to 4 inches of rain possible. The predicted path of this has changed daily. How confident are meteorologists about the path now? Troy, I know it's very easy to say, hey, we have no clue what we're talking about because everything keeps changing, but I'll tell you that it's almost here. So when it comes to talking about how much confidence we had in the path 5 days ago versus now, confidence improves. And we've had the track, the changes that we have seen in the track today have been minimal. So I mean, really, we haven't seen much change in this thing, and by the time we are looking at this making landfall, I'm fairly certain the track will probably stay the same. So again, I know it's easy to say weathermen have no clue because they said this a week ago, and suddenly it's not right. You have to look at the evolution between now and then, but up to this point, the track, really since yesterday, hasn't changed that much. It's been adjusting a little bit eastward, but again, it hasn't been a drastic change really since yesterday, at least from what I've been able to see, and certainly today. So we're pretty confident. I mean, it stayed relatively the same today, but we're just looking at how this thing goes. These hurricanes are tough, and I know we got a lot of late folks tuning in, but we'll do another recap here of everything. But these storms, think about, again, when you look at the weather models, you see all those little stringy kind of paths here. you have to look at the mean of those, but any of those, that's why you have a cone of uncertainty where you're saying, hey, it could go anywhere in here. I mean, it's a statistical reality that you're not looking at, oh, I think it's going to go here. We think it's going to go here. We're thinking it's going to go somewhere in here, but somewhere in there is that mean, that center, that basically the middle of where they think, we're pretty sure it's here. So, and I'll show you that track here in a moment and explain that again. So let's get back over to our graphics here, and I can better explain the cone of uncertainty with that. So again, here is that path. Now, the cone of uncertainty is the red that you see. And of course, the farther away, the more time we have, and also the more forces are interacting with this thing. That's where you start to see that wider cone of uncertainty because more time passes. But in the center is basically the mean of these different solutions from these models of basically where we expect that to go. Also the timing, making landfall again, probably around 3 a.m., and then north near the Woodlands in Houston in the afternoon, and then up towards the Arklatex early Tuesday morning. So that's the path of what we're expecting. And it hasn't changed a lot. It has pushed eastward a little bit, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't veer a little bit further west. Doesn't seem likely at this point, but it doesn't mean it couldn't veer a little bit further west and bring us more rain, which is why you should stay. This remote really loves to default over to the wrong program and start changing things around. But let's get this going the right direction here. Here we go. So here is the rainfall forecast for tomorrow. And again, this is subject to change just like the models are. This has been shifting eastward a little bit. And if you saw the update earlier today, you can compare the two. 1 to 2 inches west of 35, east of 35, closer to 2 or 3. East of 45, 3 to 4 inches. And then further to the east, from Athens, Palestine, Jacksonville, Tyler, on up into northeast Texas, that's where we're looking at 5 to 7 inches. We could even see up to 10 inches in some isolated places if they happen to get more rain. So that's what we're looking at in terms of those rain amounts. Ryan, everyone get your floaters ready. Floaties ready. Looks like we're going to swimming to work tomorrow. I will tell you, morning won't be too bad. Your drive home will be more wet, but early in the day won't be quite as intense. But we do have these flood watches in place from Groesbeck to Corsicana Kaufman on east. So that's where we have those flood watches in place. That's where we're going to be looking at the most rain here. This could be expanded westward a little bit overnight if it looks like that track begins to recede west a little bit. It's been trending east as we go further, so it doesn't seem very likely that that's going to happen, especially now that we've seen that trend continue through the day. But these are the flood watches. These are the areas where the flooding is going to be a higher concern overall. And then we will get into the timing here of what to expect. So again, 3 a.m. I think is when we're probably going to see landfall of this storm. We get into 6 a.m., getting closer to the Houston area. So making its way inland, about 9 a.m., Metro Houston getting the heaviest impacts right here. And then as we go forward here, noon tomorrow, moving north of Houston, starting to make its way into the Brazos Valley here. As we get into 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, as I mentioned a couple of things. One, that's when we start to get the heavier rain here. And of course, this timing is an estimation. It could change a little bit. But also further west and further north, we'll start to see the outer bands light up. As we get daytime heating, that adds some of that lift. We'll see more storms developing from Stephenville on up towards Fort Worth and Denton. So just be prepared for an outer band or two to start to light up in the afternoon heating. 6 p.m. tomorrow, again, I think that's when we're going to see the heaviest amounts of rain, the highest coverage of that heavy rain tomorrow. And then as we get into 9 p.m., probably still some of that, but it will start to make its way northeast. And then midnight Tuesday morning, yeah, I think we're pretty well looking at this moving to the northeast for the most part. Chris, you're asking, will the wind be bad in Ellis County? Some maps are saying 73 mile per hour wind gusts. I don't know if we're going to be seeing 73 mile per hour wind gusts in Ellis County. You're probably looking at something that's talking about that being generally strong, 75 miles per hour. I mean, that's 73 is almost category 1 strength, I believe. Let me just double check myself. Make sure that I'm not losing my mind here. And thank you, Brian, for your donation to the Cash App. That is greatly appreciated. Let me just take a look here. Let's see. Yeah, so 74 to 95 mile per hour winds. That is getting to Category 1 speed. So we would have to be on the coast, really, to get around 73, 75 mile per hour wind gusts. That's what you're going to have with, tropical storm, top end tropical storm, low end hurricane winds. So by the time the storm gets here, I'm looking at maybe 25, 30, 35 mile per hour winds at that point. So I'm not expecting 70 plus mile per hour wind gusts. That's just not going to be a reality for our area. The storm will have weakened significantly before it gets to that point. So feel free to pass those questions along. Again, as I mentioned, Brian, thank you so much for your donation to the Cash App. That is greatly appreciated there. And we'll go back to just the overall view here, so that we can see what we are watching here. Again, like I said, I'm not really seeing too much in terms of this reaching our area. I think this will largely die out. I think that the tropical storm, again, tomorrow morning will be making landfall as a hurricane, most likely. I think we're going to see that dominate our weather pattern tomorrow. There's been talk of a cold front here. If it does make its way through, we won't feel much of it. It's not going to do much to our temperatures. We will be in the mid 80s tomorrow due strictly to the tropical storm. And then as we get beyond tomorrow, the rest of the week looks like we'll be in the lower 90s Monday and Tuesday. Monday, obviously, we'll be in the 80s. Tuesday, we're in the low 90s. But by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're back in the mid 90s. So we will be warming up again. And if we do get a cold front, we're not really going to notice that. So doesn't look like we have any more questions here. Again, if you missed this will be posted immediately following this live stream for you to go back and watch. Lots of great information, and we will continue to post updates here as the evening goes forward. But expect landfall around 3 a.m. of this storm. Should be at least weak hurricane strength. And then from there on, we will see this mostly bring rain to our area, probably tomorrow afternoon and evening. Josh, do you think the HRRR is right? Seems like it's having issues. So here's the thing, Josh. The HR model sometimes gets a little too ambitious with storm creation. I think that's what's going on. It keeps showing this massive complex colliding with the hurricane almost in this dramatic fashion, but I just don't think that's going to be the case. If it is, would mean more rain for us. But I think that the HR might be a little bit, I think the HR model might be a little bit more ambitious there. Jill, I wondered where your questions were. In Ennis, doesn't look like we're seeing much tonight. If we see anything out of Oklahoma, it'll be early tomorrow morning, but I'm not thinking much. And then tomorrow afternoon and evening is when we see the most rain. But Jill, you can go back and watch this once it's posted immediately following the live stream to get caught up on that. And Julie, stay up with us. Kevin, we are in the path of the storm here near Houston. Thanks for all you do. So you're in Houston. So I will try to stay up for landfall. I'm going to have to be covering this through the day tomorrow too. So I'm going to have to try to strategize on when to sleep here. But I will do my best to cover this thing all the way through. Josh, shifting Beryl further east for you personally, that's been the overall trend. And I think all of us have pretty well noted that it has shifted eastward through the day, really since yesterday. We've been slowly but surely tracking shifting that track east rather, as that storm has come through. So thank you so much for watching. Again, if you missed this, you can go back and watch the entire thing here on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you may be watching, and it will be posted there for you to see. More updates are to come as Tropical Storm Beryl, soon to probably be Hurricane Beryl, makes its way towards